Okay. Okay, it's going live. I did it from my software, not my thing. That's a bad intro though. I just saw where the stream started. Jesus, I apologize. All right, let's start with not a Q&A. Let me get the poll going in the chat. Chat. Did you like let me spell it right. Episode 4 of season 2 of The Last of Us. Start poll. For me, overall, it's kind of like a mixed bag. Like the first 30 or 40 minutes of the episode, I loved. The last 10 to 15, it's rough. It's kind of rough at times. So it's almost just like after reevaluate the scores, you give episode 1 and 2 to really figure out how you feel about 3 and 4. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. One felt like a 9 out of 10. Episode 2 was like a 10 out of 10. Last one 6 out of 10. This one's like it's like 7.5, but I also feel like that's too gracious at points. Yeah, it's very interesting. It was just that we started off very, very strong. I can't be on a stream too long today because I gotta go to. I thought my call time was 6:30 tomorrow. It's 5:30. Yeah, but poll is live. What, my dog? Jinkers. Sorry, my dog. I don't want you to leave me. Play in the background. Okay. So, normal stream stuff. We're going to run through the episode really quick. So, we start off. I thought it was going to be a lot more Isaac focused because that's what they kind of teased. You know what I mean? In the teaser from last week and the teaser from this week, very interesting. Next week, we're going to be getting spores. I like how they sort of, I mean, it's like 20 years. Spores would happen probably a lot sooner than bloaters and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Which is just like to me, you know, because it's what is it? It's like that they discover spores. It looks like the wolves also discover them as well. And that it's like this whole new part of the infection. In the game, we got shamblers. In the TV show, we got stalkers and spores. Maybe no shamblers this time. We'll say that for the next season. Okay, I also have a theory. I believe they are going to stop season 2 right when the game switches. When you go from Ellie to Abby. I was really excited because I thought this season we'd get Ellie and Abby's story together at the same time. That doesn't really seem to be what they're doing because they're giving us a lot of Jeffrey Wright and the Seraphites, but not a lot of Abby. You know what I mean? And I think it's like what you're getting in the TV show that you're not getting in the game is that foundational groundwork. Because in the game, you discover more about who the wolves are, who the Seraphites are in Abby's playthrough way later on. Here it's sort of presenting you at the forefront that hey, these are kind of like warring ideologies. No one seems to be kind of right, huh? Here's a thrown in your face in the beginning. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. So that is definitely something that it will be an interesting experience, I think, to see how they play it out, because the reveal of it happening much later in the game is, I think, beneficial. You know what I mean? Because they just become these figures that are just trying to kill you, but here with an outside perspective, it's that yeah, they're kind of trying to kill. Well, they're not. They have a. They're. This episode we got a little bit of the wolves kind of coming after Dina and Ellie, but not like you kind of do in the game where it's just they shoot on sight, you know what I mean? Type of thing. But anyways, running through the episode, we start in 2018 in a QZ. We got Josh Peck in The Last of Us. That is right. Love to see him. And then we sort of get Isaac's beginning when he sort of has this switch, this flip of a switch in him where he's going to start, he didn't even start the wolves. The wolves are already established, to where he's going to start, I don't know, becoming head of the wolves. You know what I mean? Maybe there's a little bit of underground here, but this is when he makes his switch. We see that he's a part of Fedra. I wrote I love Jeffrey Wright because I do. I thought that lady was a prophet. I guess she's not the prophet. Is she not the prophet? That's who I thought she was. Because you're going to give me so much Wolf backstory, but you're also not going to give me Seraphite backstory. Like, I need the same energy. You know what I mean? So yes, I literally wrote down the prophet, but the way they tease next episode and the way she's in it, I'm like, she's not the prophet then, which is so weird. And then we see Isaac blow up the truck, which that's a nod to the video game, because when you're exploring Seattle in day one as Ellie, you find the note. It's like a side little area, before the courthouse and before Saravina base, to where, hi Christopher, nice to see you. You see, there's like a note, and you see it's just like the skeletal bodies, and it's just them, that they blew up the truck. And then so I thought it was Isaac and the Seraphites working together, because there's like, I think it's a note. It's a note or it's something to where it's just like, why didn't all the factions come together to take over? Oh no, they said it in the TV show. I thought it was in the game. No, it was at like where they talk about, hi Great American Terror, where they talk about that, like, why didn't all the factions like join forces and uprise against Fedra? I guess that's going to be a thing in the TV show that was not obviously present in the game. And then we sort of see Dina and Ellie. I put underground there in the pharmacy. We see Dina, and she takes a pregnancy test. And then we get officially Seattle day one. Tons of set pieces in this game. Sorry if you're scratching. My dog wants to leave. He can't leave me. But yeah, so it shows Capitol Hill. It just very clearly wants you to know you're in Capitol Hill. And now it's starting to really feel like it's a video game series brought to life in the more action-y episodes, which is so interesting. It reminds me of the early 2000s, those good old days. Jakers, you will stay with me. There you go. Sorry, dog distraction. But yeah, so then they're like, what's up with the rainbows? Because I remember in the video game there was a little, I think when you go through like a bookstore on day one after the school, there's like a little section where you go through like a bookstore, and then there's like a flag there, a rainbow flag. And obviously I guess that wouldn't be a thing in the apocalypse. They wouldn't have figured it out like 30 years later, what that meant. But I was like, I see what they're doing there. I don't know if I liked it or not. And then we start to get like the first inklings of Ellie loving space, which it was always kind of like it was much more present obviously in the second game than the first game through flashbacks or whatever. But like kind of like you see stuff around her room, like she probably likes space, you know. But it's just her talking about Apollo or whatever. So it's just a little, I guess, foreshadowing for the flashback there. We get the TV station. That was... Oh, no. Okay, so they see the TV station. So that is definitely something they included in the episode. So we already have Capitol Hill. We have the TV station. We have the music store. Can we get... Thank you for giving us Take On Me. That was definitely a big dub. It's one of my favorite parts of the game. It had me tearing up with Dina watching it unfold. Legit, I had tears in my eyes. I was like, oof. Thank you. This just little moment in the game is like my favorite moment, and it's just a thank you for that. You get Dina banging drums, which is like a fun, also a little like optional side moment that you can miss. Same thing with the Take On Me in the game, but like you have to do it. And I think it's funny. I wrote The Last of Us music placement because like when they get in the music store and The Last of Us music triggers, I was like, oh, okay, now, what is this? A video game? Like, like, you know, sometimes when you play video games and it's like you're out of a fight, and then, you know, because the music changes, or music changes are kind of like cueing you as a gamer for like different things happening. That's how I felt like they're doing in the TV show, and I don't think it works. It takes me out of it so hard. We see Ellie play guitar. We know that. I like how in the behind the scenes after, they're like, oh no, this was included in season 1. It was included in the game. It was included in the game that Joel teaches Ellie guitar. But they're like, it's from season 1. No, it's not. I put Dean in cards when we get more Isaac. We see I was like, what's this whole cooking thing? I'm like, who's he talking to? Abby? Jacob, stop scratching. And then you see him, we see the interrogations, which getting that insight was, I love Jeffrey Wright. I love him so much. But then you see the interrogations with the scars and the Seraphites. They talk about the truth. I wrote Jeffrey Wright, best part of the show. It says it right there. I don't even know if it's going to show up properly. Hold up. Jeffrey Wright, best part of the show. Boom. Right there. Because he has to be. He's just so good. I can't even handle him. He's so good. He's so good. I think I need him to be a bad guy more often now. I think I do. And then we see the wolves become Seraphites, but the Seraphites never go to the wolves. I thought that was a very interesting thing, right? Because in the game, we never did see any wandering, I mean, except for Lev and Yara. Maybe that's a nod to Lev and Yara as well, because we never see them. Those are the only scars that we see, or Seraphites that we see, whatchamacallit, sort of leave. You know, no one, like, is allowed to leave. I don't think they have a choice in either side, and I think maybe if it's like the two sides of the same coins thing with Abby and Ellie, Ellie and Joel and Abby, Seraphites and Wolves, like, is that also going to be something that is included later on, like the bad stuff the Seraphites do? Because really, they still trying to pin everything on the Wolves and Isaac right now, I feel like. He holds out his hand voluntarily. Obviously, the second part. The first part, he barked, and it's gross. And you see the warring ideologies. You see Ellie and Dina find the dead wolves by the Seraphites. The war between Scars and Wolves. Dina and Ellie are caught in the middle of it. The TV station Wolves, it was worse than the TV show. Like, when they showed the, like, wolves hanging by the Seraphites, that was horrifying. Like, genuinely. Because when you're in the game, it's like, oh, what is happening kind of like thing. And it's kind of like worrisome, but like in the TV show, way more tense, way more horrific. Jakers. Come here. Come on. I guess he doesn't want me. He left me. Okay. And then you get, what do we get here? Where was I? Yeah, no, I felt like the recreation of that was, like, so cool, but also horrific at the same time. Then you get the feel her love on the wall, and they start connecting Seraphites together. Like, what's happening in Seattle, which does happen in the game, but it's much more like they're trying to, like, put a focus on it here, when the drive should be Ellie's going after the wolves that killed Joel type of thing, you know what I mean? That doesn't seem to be the main, I guess, thing that's happened. Like, the main motivation, I guess, for Ellie. Like, it gets lost a little bit for them to show Seattle, for them to show Isaac, for them to show set pieces or whatever. Like, it gets a little lost, I feel like. So, that's why it makes sense for, like, all these locations, like the TV station, because Leah's there. The school, Jordan was there. Like, this sort of, like, thing that's happening of, like, Ellie's going here, here, and here. And instead of just going here for it to be a cool recreation and set piece, it's just there for Seattle backstory. And I'm like, I need... Oops, sorry. I think it makes sense more if it's a motivation for Ellie, but you get why they're doing it. Then you see Dina and Ellie caught with the wolves. You see a little bit of, like, stealth happening there. And the wolves kind of, like, act like they do in the game, which I thought was funny. I'm like, the same AI? How is this happening? And then I think they created a lot of the tension there from, like, Dina and Ellie being scared. Which I was like, okay, they're just not these two badass women just, like, going after everything. Like, they've seen a lot, they've done a lot, and they're just, like, not that, you know what I mean? Sometimes they're dumb, sometimes they're smart, but it creates tension, I guess. And for the lack of characterization, there we go, I guess. But yeah, and then you get Dina and Ellie in the rain. I know that would have been, I wrote that down because I was like, that'd be a fun day on set. The actors running through the rain. I know I would, I don't know why I thought that, but I did. And then you see them crawl. They have their size advantage, makes sense. The actors playing them quite small, I guess. How tall is Bella Ramsey? Because, I mean, we see Ellie grew height-wise, but I don't think Bella grew between shooting. Bella, 5'1". How small is Isabella Merced? 5'1" as well? Why did they seem like they have such a height difference? Alright, short queens we love. Maybe Ellie was on Apple Box in some shots. I don't know. And then we get the subway scene. Looked really, really dope. We see flares. We see the fungus. There's too many infected. A horde. World War Z. I wrote that down, which I thought that like whole subway scene was just like a really cool. Like it reminded me of like early 2000s zombie infected type movies. Like as though you were just like popping off, right? And it was just like hordes and hordes and hordes of them. But I do kind of like. I feel like it takes away the danger of there because people wanted more infected in the TV show, right? But if you give more infected, I don't mean multiple numbers, I mean more scenes with the infected. Okay, not every single group has to be a horde. Obviously, it makes sense for the type of fungus and how it sort of spreads in the TV show versus like the game. But I kind of would have liked, there's still like a danger if there's like one clicker, if there's 3 runners, you can still die. You know what I mean? But I'm not scared if there's 1 or 2. I'm scared if there's 50. You know what I mean? And in the game, you never really come across that too often. So I think that's like a very interesting thing. But I think creating more of that horror, that survival horror aspect, it would be brought on with bigger numbers. But yeah, it definitely doesn't feel like Last of Us. I'll say that. But it feels like peak sort of zombie infected action sequences is definitely what it seems like. So it's like really cool because of that, but I think at the expense of the game. At the expense of the concept of the game. And I think, yeah, like because you can create tension with a clicker. I just don't know if they know how to do that live action wise, which seems weird because they've done it before. But yeah, and it felt like a haunted subway. Because I remember going through, like, sometimes when you go through haunted houses, there's this one I would go to, it's a local one, where, like, they kind of go on, like, your fears, right? So when they're kind of going through, like, the rubber part of the subway cars changing, it reminded me of, like, when I would go to, like, a haunted house, and it's, like, they make you walk between 2 mattresses to get, like, your claustrophobia thing. Like, 2 air mattresses. It's quite fun. But it reminded me of that. I'm, like, I could definitely see Hollywood Horror Nights doing, like, a Last of Us type of subway sequence. You know what I mean? Like, that's what it felt like. But it felt so cool. Like, there were so many gigantic set pieces that were so expensive. So shout out to, like, the set designers that make everything. Because it looks dope. But, like, yeah. And obviously, you can do more in, like, a 3D video game system than you can in live action. You do have some restrictions. Should they be getting blank checks? Maybe they should. Maybe they obviously got more money this time around. And then we see I put boost Dina and climb fence. That was something to note from the video game. Video game mechanics. I think they're doing a really good job of translating those into live action. It is a very grounded type of game, so it makes sense. And then we see Ellie get bit in the turnstile. Is that what they call them? Turnstile? And she just like sticks her hand. I was just like, no, me. And I was just like, okay. That's how we're gonna handle that then. And then we see the theater. I put sick habit because it's on the outside. We see Dina point the gun at Emily. I put no chemical burn. Girl, she comes back later. The chemical burn comes back later. Dina's pregnant. Dina kisses Ellie and they hook up. Didn't see that one coming. And I like how at the end of the episode and like the making of, they're like, totally makes sense. And I'm like, watching it didn't. And I know y'all are supposed to be together, but it just felt like it was out of nowhere. Okay, like, out of nowhere. Like, that's the little Owen and Abby scene when you're playing the game where you're like, well, whoa, like, I literally was like, okay. Like, it just threw me off, like, so hard. So now they're a couple, but it goes crazy because it's just, like, you go for them kind of being, like, best friends or whatever, and then it's like, we're gonna have a family. We're gonna raise a kid together. We're gonna move in. We're gonna do it. And, like, maybe if you have, like, an established relationship, that does make sense, but it just seems like such a crazy jump to be just like, I'm not gay. I'm gay. And then Dina comes out. And it's just like, okay, it was just like, I need the writing to sort of get a grip on some things because you're just throwing kind of like so much out there. You know what I mean? And then obviously you kind of get a little bit of like when Dina's coming out, you get her saying just like, oh, she told her mom this and that, and she kind of like stuck with it because it kind of got in her head a little bit. You know what I mean? And she loves Jesse, obviously. But then I'm like, doesn't this make Dina cheat on Jesse? Because aren't they back together in Jackson? You know what I mean? Before they, or like on the road, it was just like, Ellie was just like, oh, it'll be like back together. And she just like, we did. So does she mean like they hooked up or like were they back together and now she just started cheating on Jesse with Ellie? Like, I'm confused here now. You know what I mean? Like, and it does amplify up the drama because then it's like, did Dina cheat on Jesse with Ellie now? And but I guess maybe if we do end up seeing Jesse in Seattle, it would bring that tension dynamic without. The game does such a good job of translating it, especially in like the cutscenes, that I'm just like, it doesn't have. Why is it so poorly translated onto TV? I don't know. Just the whole writing that last 10 to 15 minutes was kind of like, it just didn't work for me, honestly, and stuff. And then I don't like to think of Dina as a cheater. You know what I mean? Like, she may be confused. She may know what she wants, like, now, and all that other stuff. And, like, yes, we love and we support her and stuff, but, like, what if you come back to Jackson holding hands with Ellie and a child? What's gonna happen then? Like, what? And then, yeah, then we circle back to the chemical burn. And now we kind of get them established as a couple, just, like, in 5 minutes. I was like, whoa, I thought we might get a slow burn based off what you were giving me before. But no, just slap it in my face then. That's the thing. It's like if you're taking like a 30-hour game into 7 hours of television, you don't have to include everything. Obviously, they cut out the school. They cut out the Saravina base. Sure, we love that. But other stuff that are kind of like essential to the narrative that they change, that they shift around, that they jump around, it's like, it's just becoming like bad writing. You know what I mean? Like instead of this slow reveal of maybe like Dina's feelings for Ellie, like, I do love her, love confession or whatever. Like, it's just, you know what I mean? And that's where I'm kind of like, oh, like, I kind of like, I was supportive of the friendship vibes, you know what I mean? Like, I'm like, okay, I guess I didn't think that they like weren't together the rest of, like, I was keeping an open mind. I didn't know what they were going to do, if they were going to just like change it around. But yeah, some of the changes, you can change them, but then like, it's just, I don't want everything to be a carbon copy of the game, but at some point I need it to make sense. You know what I mean? Like, getting more Jeffrey Wright backstory makes sense. However he sort of developed into the leader of the Wolves, I'd love to see it. You know what I mean? Even changes of, like, Dina and Ellie not necessarily... I mean, I thought the kiss that they first had was enough of a sign. You know what I mean? And then her visiting her all the time. Like, they kind of, like each other. And then, like, along their travels to Seattle, they become more established as a couple. That's what I was assuming. I didn't know it just was, again, just, like, out of nowhere, it feels like. You know what I mean? And that is me stepping, like, out of the game. And then me stepping out of the TV show experience. Because then it's just, like... and then I guess the way Dina comes out explains it a little bit. But then also they do it together now. So even though Dina is pregnant and she's throwing up and she's probably feeling sick, they still are going to have Dina go through with all these dangerous things. Like, Dina, like, I know you love Ellie, but even game Dina was like, we can't, like, she's still back. You know what I mean? And now they got, like, the walkie radio. So that translates for the radio that they get in the theater. But, yeah, so Ellie and Dina are a couple now. How we got there? It was a roller coaster, girl. It was... Why would you want it to make sense? That's crazy. But I guess in the game it is a little jarring when it first does happen, but then it's like established so later on. But it just took so long for it to happen. It's just like it felt so jarring as well. But I feel like it wasn't that jarring the first time you experienced it. It was just like, oh, they're kind of like flirting now, and then oh my gosh, they're making up. Oh, they're sleeping together. You know what I mean? Like, and then you just kind of like ride with it and you roll with it. But it's just so, it's so confusing, you know. But yeah, and they imagine their lives together. Now they're gonna raise JJ. Sure, forget Jesse's in the picture. Ellie's the dad now, I guess. Okay. And then we're having a baby. I was like, oh, we just forget about my man Jesse like that. And then you get Lake Hill. I think that's day 2. Is that day 2 Seattle? I'm assuming. And then you see the radio, no map. Then Dina pulls out a map. Girl, I get too ahead of myself on there. And then they run on top of the building to sort of survey it out, because in the game you're much more in like a downtown section. There's a lot more tall buildings. This one is just, they just run up to the building. And then they're like, over there, that's Lake Hill. And it's just like, okay. Guess it makes sense for TV, right? Why would you do anything else? Why would there be another option to do? You know what I mean? You know, and in the game, there was a lot more care into the game, and I know it probably has to do with just like the actual game mechanics and how you're getting from point A to point B, and then translating that into the television show just feels so lazy, because they care about different, I don't know, it's just like they care about different things, you know what I mean, and the drama and the relationship. This episode, I feel like that, but the relationship between Ellie and Dina, and it's just like, yeah, I get it, but like, okay, it's like, the episode's overall like a 7 out of 10 for me. I love everything up until they get out of the subway, and then after that, it was just like, what is it, oh, okay, I guess we're here then, and you know why it's included in there, because it's included in the game, and they have to reach certain points, and then they made changes earlier in the script, but no, this has to happen for it to make sense, and then why would you put it where it made sense, and then, or like earlier when it made sense then? No, include it later, when it's the last opportunity for it to ever make sense. But yeah, so it would say it was a very jarring episode. It was very jam-packed. It also makes me realize that, like, the last episode was so unnecessary. It could have been Seattle Day 1, honestly, because just, like, the way it was sort of the same effect of just, like, there's a certain timestamp where they just end up rushing everything, it feels like, versus kind of, like, fleshing it out a little bit more. And obviously for this one, it was the Jeffrey Wright backstory, which feels very similar to the Melanie Leninsky backstory that we got in season 1. This one's just much more interesting. I don't know if it's interesting to viewers that didn't play the game. You know what I mean? I think it is, because it's Jeffrey Wright. You know what I mean? So he's interesting in himself. And you're kind of like, what is this flashback serving me? And I don't know if it's serving anything for the viewers. Same thing with the Seraphite stuff. Like, I don't know if it's doing anything. But the fans of the game know what's up. And it's really cool to get those moments. So I not only can speak of a fan of the game. I think I would be very jarred. I'd be like, what the hell is happening? I don't care about this. Go back to Ellie. You know? So yeah, and then you see Dina stays behind. No, they stay together forever. They're gonna go off an adventure. Dina, they better not kill Dina. I don't even know anymore, dude. And then again, we get the spores. You see the same guy that Jeffrey Wright kind of saved out of the Fedra truck later on, being the one who's just like, scars, they deserve it. You know what I mean? Because you maybe get like, I think they want to show how bad it. I don't think you have to. You can just. The stuff where it's like that guy's talking outside the thing, I feel like that's like, it's like an unnecessary part, because you can already tell that he's torturing him. That's not a cool thing to do. You know what I mean? It's not even working. You know what I mean? So you don't need the outside perspective, I feel like, to necessarily be like, oh no, they deserve it. Oh no, they don't. That's horrible. What are they doing? I feel like you don't need that. You know what I mean? I feel like just little things like that don't necessarily be included. I feel like you don't have to tell the audience how to feel about it that way, or to kind of show just like throughout the years, this guy, he kind of joined Isaac in the beginning, and then now you have Isaac now, and then you have this guy now who has like, who's just like so just like lifeless. You know what I mean? Like I didn't even know that was the same guy. You know, I mean, I guess it works to kind of showcase how horrible, how evil the wolves are. Again, we have this whole narrative that the wolves are just like the worst, evilest devil, the most evil thing. You know what I mean? Which also makes me think that the switch of why season 3 got greenlit is going to be Abby's, because they're not really giving us too much here. You know what I mean? In terms of serving her purpose, like it's just not working. It's just not, like, you're not getting in. Like, what I wanted to see was like the narrative. They're telling it like they're telling it in the game, which I don't think is going to serve them very well. I don't think so, especially when you have a year-long gap between seasons. I don't think that's gonna work, because what are we on, episode 4? So you have 5, 6, 7. Episode 5. I don't know, what could episode 5 be? Day 2, episode 6, day 3, episode 7, I don't know. Another day 3, I don't like the timeline of it is just throwing me off so much. It is crazy. Especially if I don't get, like, when the sun comes up day 1. No, you give it to me at like 11 o'clock and I'm just like, what? But anyways, yeah, so the beginning, the tension was crazy. It felt like true pure survival horror. It felt like early 2000s movie zombie infected stuff that I watched like growing up, which was like so cool and so rad, which I think felt cool, and I think that's where they're pulling a lot of their inspiration from, rather than pulling the inspiration from the game exactly. Even though they're saying like everybody's a fan of the game, I'm like, are you? Are you though? So yeah, and I think it's just like how Neil Druckmann's just like, for like, it was one of the last of the making ofs, he just like, you know, in the game we had to get straight into it because it's an action game, and in like episode 2 and episode 4 it's just been action, 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 action for a lot of it, and tension and all this other stuff, you know what I mean? So I'm like, you're a liar, sir. Episode 3 did nothing, but it did some stuff, but it was just like, it's just, I'm gonna forget about it eventually. But yeah, so I think you had like 4 different set pieces from the game in one episode, which was a lot. I know that episode was expensive, girl. She cost some money. But yeah, so I love Jeffrey Wright. I love getting more Isaac backstory, a little bit more on the wolves and that aspect of it. I just so weird to me that you're giving it to me in Ellie's playthrough if you're not giving me Abby's side of things. That's where I'm feeling, you know. That's where it's throwing me off a little bit, because I'm like, this is cool, getting it, but is it going to make sense now, or is it going to make sense in a year and a half, 2 years, till I get the next season, you know? Got some bangers. We got Dina pregnant. We got Take On Me. We love that. We got Subway stuff. Spores next episode. Got some more wolves. Got some more Seraphites. We got the theater. Dina's pregnant. We got them hooking up. They're officially together now. Man, who knows? It just took one hookup before you find the one you're supposed to be with. But yeah, I do, like, I do see edits sometimes of the game where it was just like this trend, and it's just like, are we like meant to be in every universe? And it's like Dina and Ellie, and then it said, are we even meant to be in this one? And then it cuts to when Ellie's leaving for California. Oh, rips my heart out, but I love it. Making me feel the pain. So it's like a solid 7.0 out of 10 for me. Real banger the first 30, 40 minutes, and then the last like 15, 20 kind of lost me a little bit there. Yeah, it's a little bit of a shorter stream than what we got last week, but I didn't realize I had to leave at like 4 in the morning. I thought I had to leave at 5 in the morning. So I gotta rest up for my work. Which is why you haven't been seeing videos from me, is because I've been working. I thought I was only gonna do 3 days last week. 5 this week. I thought I was gonna, I don't even know what I thought I was gonna do. But yeah, I wasn't able to record any gameplay videos, unfortunately. Unfortunately, like deeply unfortunately. It would have only been like 1 or 2 anyways, because I got off of work at 4:30 Saturday morning. So I just needed a day of recovery from that. And then today it was Last of Us stream, and then I gotta wake up, see my coworkers like 48 hours after I last saw them. So, but thank you so much for joining. I know some people watch these after. But yeah, I'm always curious to know your thoughts on it. Let me get the final results of the poll. 2 votes, people liked it. I do think overall it's really good. It's an amazing, recreation, especially this season being more faithful, being more action-packed, really getting into the horror of it rather than the drama of it. But because it's the balance of both that makes it so powerful. You know what I mean? It's the genre fusion. Not everything has to be strictly drama. Not everything has to be strictly horror, even within a scene. You know what I mean? You can look at, like, that's why people love Parasite, you know what I mean? You can look at Sinners, you know what I mean? You don't have to tell me how to feel, and it's driving me crazy, because I'm like, the second game, like, it's not my favorite game ever. I much more prefer the first one, obviously, but, like, there's just, like, the way it's executed is at such, like, a higher quality than sometimes that we're getting in the TV show, and it's the writing, and I'm just like, can we tweak it just a little bit, like this? We don't have to include this scene at all. And you could give me this here, and we can extend this, and then we can wrap this up faster, and get me in that cutting room is all I'm saying. Let me do it. Put me in, coach. Put me in. She makes television, okay? Sometimes she's on movie sets, mainly TV, okay? And a very highly, critically acclaimed television. And sometimes it's not, and I'm okay with that. They pay my bills. But yeah, that's going to do it for this episode. Probably this weekend will be more... I will record more gameplay videos so we can get through Shadows. We also got to get through Arkham City, but mainly we got to get through Shadows. So yeah, sorry for the delay. Sorry I didn't get any videos out since like Wednesday. But yeah, this next week is also going to be a little rough too. So, but watch my Last of Us playthrough, the most recent ones, The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered, and Last of Us Part 1, the PS5 version of it. Highly recommend those. Get my thoughts on the scenes. You know what I mean? A little bit more. Because I'm also replaying it now with my friend. So it's kind of cool to see, like, her perspective on things. It's just, like, she watched, like, the first game on YouTube, and I gave her my PS4 copy of Last of Us Part 2. And it's really fun to see her reactions to everything. And I'm like, yep, felt the same way. So did everybody else. And that's really quite fun, but we haven't been able to play because we've been too busy with work. But I'm Abby. I'm through Chinatown. My friend is in Chinatown. What happens after Chinatown? Oh, I just passed Martyr's Gate. I just got through that first wave of Seraphites, got to that workbench. That's where I am currently in the game. So, yeah, it's a little bit of a shame. I was kind of hoping to get in the TV show Ellie and Abby at the same time, but we're not going to get that, so. Caitlin Devers, Season 3, #1 on the call sheet. Where you at? She's going to slay. That's for sure what they're doing, unfortunately. But, yeah, so, thoughts in the comments. Thank you so much for joining me for the live stream. Yeah, hope to see you next week in it, or see you in one of my gameplay videos. But yeah, that's gonna do it for this one. Your girl gotta get ready for bed already. So yes, see you next week for our episode 5 discussion. Thank you so much for joining me. Love you, and I'll see you next week. Bye.